Hello and welcome to Tech Deals, ASUS Republic of Gamers Strix Z270E gaming motherboard. What is this? Why should you watch and why should you care? In short, if you are planning a custom build with Intel's new i7-7700K Kaby Lake processor, then stop, you've come to the right video. This is a $200 premium high-end motherboard with basically every feature in the book. Now I'm going to go over the features of this board. I'm going to do some close-up shots and point everything out to you and tell you why this board is actually a good deal, even though you can buy Z270 boards for a little less money. First, let me say you need a Z270 board, not an H270, not a B250. If you're installing one of Intel's K processors, this will allow you to overclock the chip and run it faster than the standard default clock speed. By default, the 7700K turbo boosts to 4.5 GHz. However, you should be able, on liquid cooling, to get it to 5 GHz. Can you install the 7700K on the H270 or B250 boards? Yes, you can, but it will not run beyond the 4.5 GHz. Now, if you want to save some money and that's the path you want to go, you can, but I think for a $350 processor, it's worth spending a little extra money for a motherboard that gives you more features. First, a quick rundown of the features. First, we have the Z270 chipset, the top-of-the-line chipset from Intel. We have three 16x PCI Express slots supporting two-way NVIDIA SLI or three-way AMD Crossfire. The top two X16 slots support ASUS's Safe Slot technology. This provides metal protection around the slot, allowing you to insert and remove graphics cards with more confidence by protecting the slot from accidental damage. We have ASUS's excellent Supreme FX sound technology, and it is upgraded over last year's boards, the 100 series boards. A higher signal-to-noise ratio, better overall sound, 8-channel HD support. It is a good sound chip if you're gaming, if you're planning on live streaming, if you're planning on playing with either really good speakers or a nice set of gaming headphones. This is a good audio chip. It is better than on their lower-end boards and on their general consumer boards, something to consider when deciding is it worth paying a little extra premium to get the Republic of Gamers board. We have two M.2 slots supporting either PCI Express NVMe solid-state drives or serial ATA drives. We have USB 3.0 and 3.1. I'll point those out on the close-up. Multiple fan headers to connect all of your chassis and CPU cooling fans. And then finally, we have an excellent AC Wi-Fi solution, and this is not a cheap one. This is one of the, in my opinion, selling points of this board. It is a high-speed 2x2 AC Wi-Fi connection with a extendable antenna, and I will show you that here. This has a magnet on it. It will sit on top of your computer case, on the side, on the back, up near your monitor. This cable extends to about this distance. It plugs into the back of the board and will give you a better, higher speed connection with lower latency and fewer packet drops than the cheap USB Wi-Fi adapters. If you need Wi-Fi, you need a board like this. You can absolutely go out and spend $15 to $20 and buy yourself something like this, a little USB Wi-Fi adapter. I've reviewed this in the past. It works fine for basic applications, but it has a 1x connection and it is not going to provide the same type of connection, especially for online gaming, that a 2x2 AC Wi-Fi connection is with a better chip and an external antenna that you can place higher up to get a better connection. This board is $30 more than the versions of this board that don't have the AC Wi-Fi. $30 alone is worth paying for the version of AC Wi-Fi that is included on this board. But this board also has features that the less expensive boards don't have. So if you need AC Wi-Fi, this is the board to buy. Last but not least, ASUS's Aurora RGB Lighting. This motherboard has two RGB headers. It includes an extension cable if you need one. There are a variety of RGB lighting options that you can add to your case that this board can control. Now, you may or may not be interested in putting RGB lights in your case. If not, fair enough, not everybody is. But if you're interested, this board has got so many options for lighting your case with the two separate headers, one on the top and one on the bottom, as well as the actual lights on the board itself. If you're interested in a well-lit case and customizing and controlling the way your case looks, you've come to the right place. Brief mention of what comes in the box. First, we have 4 serial ATA cables. Nice to have, not terribly expensive, but nice to have. Many motherboards only come with 2. They included 4 cables. I mentioned that it comes with an RGB extension cable so that you can attach RGB lights starting somewhere besides the board. And I also showed you the excellent antenna. This, by the way, rotates around if you want to change the shape. You can use the magnet to attach it with the antenna facing up, or rotate it around and put it flat with the antenna that direction. Very nice, actually. You also have a very nice I/O shield that is labeled with what all the items are. Now, every motherboard comes with an I/O shield. That's nothing impressive. But I like the silk screening on it, that it actually indicates where all the ports are for, and it's black, giving it kind of the same motif, the same look as the board itself. That's very nice. We have an excellent manual. I cannot speak highly enough of ASUS's manuals. I've used motherboards from other companies whose names I will not name and shame here. ASUS provides the best manuals in the business. This is not printed in 12 different languages. This is all English. Why does that matter? Details. Every single connector and plug is detailed with diagrams and instructions on here. What all of the headers are, what all the things along the bottom. If you're trying to figure out where to plug stuff in, this is a very, very good manual. I give 2 thumbs up to ASUS for their motherboard manuals. They have been very nice for a long time. They do provide a nice driver CD. If you need this to get online for whatever reason, you certainly can use it. I would recommend that you go to ASUS, actually support.asus.com, and download the latest versions of their software. You are going to want to download or install from the CD some of the software, most notably the Wi-Fi software and the audio software. Yes, Windows 10 will absolutely install basic software for you to get you online. But if you want to take advantage of the really nice features of the audio chip, the Wi-Fi, and some of the parts of this board, you want to actually install ASUS's software to get the most out of your motherboard. There are also several stickers in here, which some people care about and some people don't. There is some cable labeling stickers and some case stickers. If you like such things, they do include them. And I actually plan to use this one, a Republic of Gamers coaster. And it even says, join the Republic right on the back. You know, if you like these kind of things, but I'm a coffee drinker, so I'm going to use the coaster. There is a coupon in the box with a unique serial code for Cable Mod. If you're interested in custom cables, custom colored cables, custom length cables to modify your system, 20% off any order at Cable Mod. There's a unique code on the back that also comes in the box. One more thing, high bandwidth bridge. On the previous generation 100 series of boards, you had to go out and buy one of these, and these are $40. Now, this one is a more basic model than the $40 ones, which come in pretty fancy cases and have LED lights on them, but it works just as well. This will allow you to connect 2 NVIDIA graphics cards on this motherboard without having to make a separate purchase. When I connected my 2 GTX 1080 cards in SLI, I didn't have one of these. I had to go out and buy one. You get one included at no extra charge. That's very nice. 3 more items. The first is a handy CPU installation tool. Now, you don't have to use this, but if you are not experienced in installing processors, this will help you safely set the processor down on the pins on the motherboard without risking breaking anything. You take your processor, you put it in this, there's a little instruction sheet inside, then you use it to place it on the board. It'll just help you install the CPU without dropping it or without damaging any of the pins. If you've never installed a CPU before, I recommend you check this out, read the directions, and give it a try. The other 2 items are M.2 screws. You will need these posts and mounts for both M.2 slots on the board. If you want to install solid-state drives into those slots, you will need these screws. Be sure to save them. And then finally, something new with the 200 series boards from ASUS, 3D printing screws. What are these? ASUS offers a number of options to have accessories and additional items added to this board via 3D printing, and there are standoffs and mounts across the board. These posts allow you to attach 3D printed items, custom cooling for the RAM, custom logos, or Republic of Gamers logo. There's a variety of things that you can add to the board using these screws. Check it out at asus.com. Let's take a closer look at the motherboard itself. On the back of the board, let me start with the I/O ports. First things first, we have the AC Wi-Fi connector plugs, the 2 screws that the external Wi-Fi antenna attaches to. Next to that, we have a USB 3.1 Type A port and a USB 3.1 Type C port. These are 10 gigabit per second ports. Next to that, we have the video ports for integrated video. If you are not adding a graphics card right away, or maybe you need to take your graphics card out temporarily and you simply need basic graphics, this provides you with a DVI port, a display port, and an HDMI port. Next to that, we have a combo USB 3 port. Now this supports either a keyboard or mouse should you have a PS2 device that you need to plug in. We have 4 USB 3.0 Type A ports. These are 5 gigabit per second super speed ports for plugging in high-speed devices. Note that there are no USB 2 plugs on the back of this board. We're finally getting rid of USB 2 and going to all USB 3. And then we have our gigabit Ethernet networking port for high-speed connections. That is an Intel port. Excellent, excellent networking. Next to that, we have our 8-channel HD Supreme FX audio with optical out should you need it. Those jacks are dynamically reassignable, so you can basically plug anything into the jacks and the computer figures out what goes where. It's actually a very intelligent system. Coming around to the face of the board itself, let me talk about the top and the center of the board first. On the top of the board, we have multiple USB fan headers. We have 2 fan headers up near the RAM sinks, and then we have 2 more on the left-hand side left of the CPU. There is 1 more chassis fan connector on the right-hand side of the board near the very edge. You can also see the first of the 2 RGB headers on the top of the board for the Aurora RGB lighting, if that is something that you want to implement. We have the CPU socket in the middle where we're going to install that. I will show you how that works when we do the actual build video. And then we have our 4 RAM slots, which supports up to 64 gigabytes of system RAM. On the right-hand side of the board, we have our 24-pin ATX power connector. And on the top left-hand corner of the board, we have our 8-pin EPS CPU power connector. Yes, you do have to use both of these. On the right-hand side, underneath the 24-pin connector, we have something brand new, the USB 3.1 front panel header. Now, not very many cases right now support USB 3.1 on the front panel, but if you have one, this now supports USB 3.1 on the front of your case. You can see the first of the M.2 slots directly beneath the CPU. This slot supports only PCI Express NVMe solid-state drives. You cannot connect a serial ATA drive to this particular M2 slot. You have to use the one down near the bottom. And then you can see the first of our PCI Express slots, and then several 1X PCI Express slots for smaller add-in cards, and then the second PCI Express slot, well spaced to allow cooling between the cards if you choose to install 2 graphics cards into this system. So moving down to the bottom of the board, you're going to see the various connectors, fan headers, USB connectors, system headers, pins along the bottom of the motherboard. First things first, we have our front panel audio connector for our HD audio. That's for your headphone jack and microphone jack on the front of your system. Then you have something you don't see very often, a COM port. This is a serial port. If you want to add one to your system, it supports it. Then we have our second RGB header for case lighting. Then we have our trusted platform module if you want to use one. I don't think most consumers will, but it's there as an option if you want to use it. Then we have our ROG extension cables, Republic of Gamers. This is a proprietary plug that ASUS provides for their Republic of Gamer boards that lets you connect front panel overclocking controls and some other accessories they sell on their website. We have a standard USB 3.0 connector, either for ports inside your machine or front panel ports. We have 2 USB 2.0 headers. What are these for? USB 2.0 ports, either on the front of your case. Maybe you have a case that has 2 USB 3 and 2 USB 2 ports on the front of your case. Use the USB 3 connector for the 2 3s, and then use one of these for the 2. The other reason you need these, do you have something like the Corsair H80i V2 liquid cooler that I'm going to be installing on this board? If you want to use the Corsair Link software, you'll need a USB 2.0 header. The other thing is if you have a power supply, such as one of Corsair's that has Corsair Link and you want to monitor power consumption and power efficiency in real time, you'll need the other one for that. That's what those can be used for as well. Then we have another chassis fan header down here on the bottom, most likely for your front fans. And then we have your standard front panel connectors. You've got hard drive activity light, reset button, power switch, etc. Directly above that, we have our second M.2 slot that provides support for either a PCI Express, or a serial ATA solid-state drive. If you're connecting, for example, a Crucial MX300 or a Samsung 850 EVO, that's where that's going to go, right down there at the bottom. Switching the board to the left side, let's take a look here. You will see we have 6 serial ATA ports. These actually deserve a mention because depending upon what you install in the M.2 slots, you cannot use all of them. If you install a serial ATA solid-state drive in the bottom M.2 slot, if you put in a MX300 or an 850 EVO, then you lose one of these ports, serial ATA port number 1. If you install 2 M.2 SSDs and you put an NVMe drive such as a 960 EVO in the top M.2 slot and an MX300 or an 850 EVO in the bottom slot, then you actually lose 3 of these ports. You lose port 1, port 5, and port 6. Note that's only if you're installing 2 M.2 solid-state drives, and of course if you're doing that, yeah, maybe you don't need all 6 of them, but it's something to be aware of that some of that bandwidth is shared, and so you'll lose some of these ports in the event that you want to install 2 M.2 solid-state drives. And then just to show you what the back looks like, it is completely black. In the event you have a clear case with tempered glass on both sides, or some of the back is showing through your system for any reason, it is all black on the back. So this has been my review of the ASUS Republic of Gamers Z270E Strix Gaming Motherboard, $200. If you are planning a $1,500 build with an i7-7700K, this is the board to buy. In fact, that's what I'm doing. Linked in the video description below will be my $1,500 build that CPU and this motherboard are going together in. Like this video if you like it, share it with your friends if you loved it. Remember to subscribe to my channel using the big huge red button directly below. Questions and comments in the comment section. As always, check out my video description below. Links to my other reviews on motherboards, links to my $1,500 system build video series, and links to Amazon and Newegg. I bought this motherboard myself. ASUS did not send it to me as a sample, but I do believe that it is a fair value for $200, and I recommend that you check out both Amazon and Newegg. Buy it wherever it makes the most sense for you. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.